Hello and welcome to the Low Code Podcast. I'm Faraz Khan from iTrack, and we are the global specialists in OutSystems recruitment. With this podcast, our aim is to increase awareness and appreciation of OutSystems and its impact and benefits to the market, and our early adoption is giving competitive edge to businesses worldwide. During our podcast, myself and my colleague Sushil Chauhan will be speaking to IT leaders and OutSystems MVPs on how OutSystems has transformed their businesses and careers. We also hope that by speaking to MVPs on their career journeys, we can inspire developers from all over the world to learn from others who have already been on the path. So let's go.
Hello, welcome to our latest episode of our podcast, Low Code Podcast. This morning, I've got with me Stuart Harris, who is the software development lead at Kiandra, based in Melbourne, Australia. Thanks so much, Stuart, for joining us. Great to see you. I know it's morning here, but it's evening there.
Yeah, it's 8 p.m. over here. Thanks for having me, Sushil. My little girl's just been put to bed. So
great. Hopefully she'll stay there. And
we'll see.
Yeah, see. So great to have you on, Stuart. Thanks for maybe we can start by just doing a little intro of yourself, and then we'll talk a little bit about Kiandra and get onto it from there. So
okay.
Do you want to go?
I've always been a programmer. I was always going to be a programmer, except for 5 minutes in grade 5 when I wanted to be a carpenter, but I was terrible at it. I was also terrible at working at Hungry Jack's, and so good thing that I can program.
Next best thing, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And so I've turned 50 last year, so I've been programming for quite a while now, and I've gone through programming in C++, I've done bits of Java as well, and finally got onto .NET, around the early 2000, and nowadays I'm actually doing a lot of OutSystems.
Okay, great. And how long have you been at Kiandra?
I've been at Kiandra for 5 years.
Okay.
I actually followed a few people there, and I'd known about Kiandra for a while beforehand, and it was one of the companies that I'd decided, I would work for them.
Right.
So yeah, that happened.
I mean, in terms of Kiandra, probably you're based in Melbourne, Australia, so it's possible that a lot of people listening to this won't have heard of your organisation. So tell us a little bit about Kiandra, a couple of minutes on the history and what you guys do.
Well, Kiandra was started by a couple of guys in their garage in a place called Eltham, which is probably about 20 k's that way from here, and they started doing looking after people's computers in their offices, so managed services, and quickly they were asked to write software.
Okay.
So Marty Cooperwaite did the software side of things, and so that went on for a long period, and with managed services, security, and software. And recently, we've just focused on software. So now we're Kiandra, the rapid software delivery company.
And I think the company grew quite well, and you won a few awards and things, didn't you? As a company was sort of growing as well.
Yeah, over the course of the years, we've won a few best places to work awards, and so the directors of the company just really have their hearts in the right place, and the culture of the company is just it's a good place to work, and we all really care about what we're doing. So yeah,
and I think
I wouldn't be here if it wasn't a great place to work.
Isn't it you that makes it a great place to work? Is that you're the main?
Well, I think so, but that's probably in the eye of the beholder.
Right.
I would suggest.
I think you've won a few kind of awards for partners as well, haven't you? In terms of partnering with Microsoft and various other. And you won some OutSystems. So. You've won some best OutSystems partner in Australia, New Zealand, and things like that, haven't you? So.
Yeah, that's right. That was last year, I believe. I don't have the list of what we've won, so I'll probably get in trouble for not knowing all of those things. But look, Kiandra has a long history of doing really good good work.
And what type of projects do you typically get involved in with your customers?
So generally, we kind of we've done a lot of, we work in a lot of different industries, but we've done a lot of work in health and government, which government's everything, right? A lot of corporate stuff. Generally, we do sort of big business systems and complex work. Often, what
legacy
we find
systems and things.
We'll so the system I'm working on at the moment is a system replacement, and and some of the systems we built 15, 20 years ago.
So
some of those are still
transformation.
Running. Yeah, that's right. What we find sometimes happens is that sometimes we're just brought in to build a system. Sometimes we'll be brought in when things haven't gone so well, and we'll go and help out and get things delivered.
Great. Okay. So how did you? It's always interesting to find out how people first sort of came across OutSystems and low code. Actually, for the benefit of people who haven't heard of low code or OutSystems, I mean, what in sort of 1 minute, what would you say? What is low code and what is OutSystems?
So low code is essentially removing the complex stuff and just letting you focus on the business logic. And I think different low code platforms are, have different degrees of success at doing that. And this is really something that's been happening for 20 or 30 years in software development. But it's only really recently that these systems have matured to an extent where you can really use them to build a lasting application. So I actually reviewed OutSystems for Kiandra the last time. We reviewed it 3 times.
Right.
And so the third time lucky. And the third review, it was ready. Before that, like in our view, it wasn't quite ready. But with mobile applications and the the capability of theming and just the way it can build a full application and that you can jump out into more complex code and introduce other libraries if you need to. So we decided, look, it's ready, and it has. We've delivered a bunch of projects now over the last 4 years, and they're working.
Right, and is OutSystems something that your customers had heard of, or how did you introduce them to this as a possible solution to their problems?
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of different ways that happens. Sometimes it's so the project that I'm working on, we approached the client and said, look, we think this is a good fit for this business problem that you have. Other clients, we're a partner of OutSystems, so sometimes they go straight to OutSystems and they go, who have you got? And OutSystems will come to us and say, look, here's someone who's looking for some help. So it's a mix of us introducing it, people coming to us, people coming to OutSystems.
And what's the customer's typical reaction when you tell them about, because it's a bit different to a solution they probably would have heard of in the past, isn't it?
It is. It depends on who you're talking to as well. So with these sort of systems, I think your hardcore developers, like myself included, when I first looked at it, skeptical, and we're skeptical of everything. And for good reason, right? It's not just because we like hard stuff. It's you need to make sure that if you promise, you need to promise a client that this thing is going to work and it's going to last. So depending on that, some customers might come to us and have heard about it and are really excited, and we have to go, okay, settle down. This is what it's really good for, and this is where it's just kind of the same. And But other customers, they might come to us going, "Yeah, we've heard about it, but we're not sure." And
Okay.
the good thing about where we sit is, we don't just do OutSystems, we do other styles, and we can honestly say, hand on heart, when we're recommending it, that it's going to work. We're not going to recommend it if it doesn't work.
And that is the best solution for them, given that you're also working with lots of other technologies and things, and that's what you decided, that this is the best solution. I mean, how do they react when you say to them, one of the things about low code and OutSystems is that the application time is a lot less than your kind of standard your standard solution. Do they believe you? I mean,
some do. Look, most do, because we know what we're talking about. But like, we won't come out and just say, yes, it's just faster, don't worry about it. It's all right. Well, look, let's have a look at the situation, because there's lots of different things that can affect how long a software project takes, and often it actually depends on. You're working together with the client. So the client needs to be able to keep up with whatever speed you're going. And to be honest, in fact, outside of OutSystems, we've always found that has been, a difficult problem to solve. Anyway.
I suppose it's their internal resources, having enough internal resources for that particular project or whatever on their side to keep up. And I suppose with OutSystems, I mean, we've heard definitely of cases with other customers where the customer's been so surprised at how quickly something's been done, and then what they tend to do, I don't know if you've experienced the same thing, is they then come back and say, oh, by the way, we want this and this and this and this now. Add like 10 other things to the list, and so can you do this and can you do this, whatever. So
but we have surprised a number of our customers by not only by, actually, this is the interesting thing, not only by how quickly we've delivered, we've hit some crazy deadlines, and I think in a month's time, we're probably going to hit another one. But also the quality that we're delivering with. So we had one project where we delivered really quickly when, others had failed. And look, it's not just the platform. The platform's got a lot to do with it, of course. But you need good people to do that. But we went live and there weren't any defects. Like, there wasn't a defect. Like, this is kind of unheard of even in in our development. But that was amazing. I was stunned. I wasn't on that project though, so right.
Oh, that explains it then. So.
that explains a lot.
That's a lot, so no, it was. I suppose there is that thing, because a lot of it's all kind of in a way pre-built, isn't it? And a lot of the problems that you would normally have are taken care of already. With a kind of security and all those kind of things. So
that's right. Look, I mean, it's like, it's the next evolution, really. And, people have probably said that for years and, fallen on their face. But it's kind of just gone from, I need to write something out to a CSV file. I'll write the code to that, to, oh, look, here's a library that'll do it for me, to, oh, well, C# or Java or PHP or Ruby comes with this whole lot of libraries, to, well, now it actually builds the application for me, and I kind of just decide, what the logic is. And there's still a lot to do, and there's still a lot to know.
Yeah.
But it's just kind of the next big leap, I think.
Yeah.
And just the modules are bigger.
Yeah. I mean, inevitably, I think, when you're doing a digital transformation, especially when there's a legacy system or something like that, there's going to be a hell of a lot of bespoke kind of things that you're going to have to work out, I suppose. So it's there's always that. And but I think, as you say, if you've got large elements which are kind of already done for you, or largely done, that helps.
So one of the things, a good example of that is, when I'd started on the project that I'm on now, there was another sister project who needed a file upload control. because the ones that were there kind of didn't quite do the job, and so that's when I built the file pond upload component that's in the Forge,
right,
and because the gentleman that builds the file pond upload JavaScript library, who's an absolute champion, built a fantastic control. So I integrated that into OutSystems, and then we could just use that control, and now we just use it all the time.
Great. Okay. So in terms of, you said obviously it's been very helpful to your customers. I mean, has there been anything that you would like to, particular things that sort of stand out in terms of customer projects and things where you think this has been a real success, or maybe even problems and things that you've had? And you don't have to mention particular customer names or anything, but just particular things that you've come across.
So there was, so the one of the big standouts for us as an organisation, again, this is a project I wasn't on, is really the speed of delivery. There's a couple of projects I can think of where we've gone in, we've prototyped, a solution, and then built it really quickly with a low defect rate. So that's really special, I think. You still have to go in and understand the business logic and the needs of the client and the project. But once you've done that, you can then accelerate that part where you're building and have it a little more reliable quality.
Yeah. And what do you think are the main sort of things that you would say to, if somebody else is just thinking of bringing OutSystems as a solution to customers, in terms of the implementations you've done and lessons that you've learned? What are the key things that you might say to somebody? Say, well, watch out for this, or these are the things.
Well, first of all, I'd say when you're looking at a platform like OutSystems, when you're looking at any platform, you're investing in the whole platform. So it's not just for one project. It's like if you don't go and do a .NET project and then do a Java project. You built up all these skills, and with OutSystems, you're also paying the licensing costs for this platform. So you first need to make sure that it's right for you, and that you've got a reasonable amount of work and ongoing work really that you want to do. And that's true of most sort of large organizations anyway, but that's the first thing. And in terms of things to watch out for, I think you want to develop your people and your skills in the platform. It's a great platform for your own developers to work in, because it does take care of a lot of the complexity for you. So you can actually get more, people with more business knowledge actually working on your systems.
Right, as opposed to kind of hardcore developers, you mean? Or?
Yeah, that's right. And, you still need that, architectural guidance, I think. So, it's not that, I think people talk about just citizen developers, and it kind of, people leave the impression, I think, that, anyone can just jump on and do it. And that's not really the case. Like, it's a lot closer nowadays to that, but you still need that overall, architectural design. And then you can go, all right, follow that pattern, go and build.
Yeah.
It doesn't store GIS data. And if you're doing something like a training system, or like if you're doing something like if you just want a CRM, just go and use a CRM, So if there's an off-the-shelf platform, use that. But if you're building bespoke stuff and you need to respond rapidly and you need to be different than your competitors, then I think it's a good platform.
Yeah, I suppose that's one of the key things every customer is looking for, is how can they gain an edge over their competitors. And this is one way they can do it, I suppose. And we've definitely talked to lots of customers where they've managed to either accelerate their processes and do a lot more, a lot faster, and also make the customer experience. I mean, that's another big thing, the whole customer experience side of things, in terms of your customers, how they experience interaction with the customer. That's a big thing as well. So
that's one of the areas that I was really impressed at when I first looked at it, and I still am. They've actually they've done that right. There's a lot of similar sort of systems where you can choose a different color, or you can customize things a bit. And we've certainly used those sort of systems before, and I have. But you can actually you can do everything that you need to do, and it's kind of the thing that really sells me on the platform is that you can do that, but you don't have to. There's layers. You can kind of stop at that layer and go, look, that's enough for me. That's all I need. But if you need more than that, you can go down to that. But the other thing is that things like building your own theme or building your own modules, what's unusual about OutSystems is you can componentize.
Yeah.
So you can build something really complex, but you can put an interface on that and just put that in a module and go, all right, just use that module now. You don't have to understand all of that. So with some other systems, like when you break out into the complexity, it's like, then you're gone. Then it's like all of the benefit of the, making it easy is gone. With OutSystems, you can wrap that up, and it's not, so you can build a system that will grow and will last, instead of something that, it'll go a few years and then it's right. Now it's too complicated and it's a mess. You can keep it organized.
I suppose this is kind of, in that way, large bits of it kind of self-contained, and you don't have these things where you change one little bit of code and somewhere along the organization something else stops working or something. So
that's right. That's really important. And it's something that's that's really the thing that makes it work, more than anything else, I think.
That's good. Okay. And I mean, touching on that, what you just said about citizen developers, actually. So there's different views on that, because we've interviewed various customers. Some of them say, oh yeah, it's great. I think it's definitely the case where if you're building a fairly simple application, we've seen lots of cases where business people, business analysts or whatever, are able to actually have a significant role in getting those applications up and running fairly quickly. So in some cases, something ridiculous like a few hours. But I think you're right. If it's like a complex kind of legacy transformation or a big project, whilst the business people can be definitely more involved, that's a great advantage, I think, with them being able to give a bigger picture into how we solve these problems. But it does require, as you say, the architectural expertise, the people who kind of a bit deeper involved, and maybe in a few years that'll be even easier. But it depends, I think, as you say, on the level of complexity that you're trying to do.
Maybe what I think that would take is a bunch of patterns that you can apply. But the problem is that the problems are so kind of varied and often particular. But then 5 years later you look back at that and go, oh no, we solved all those. But like if you could kind of apply patterns, but like I'm not saying that you have to have a architect on staff all the time. It's like you just need that kind of guidance to set it up.
Yeah.
And then, you're right. And you might need, a review maybe in a year or 2 years. We actually, when we first started, what we did is we were doing, what we thought was right. And we got experts from OutSystems in to do an architectural review. And they said, yeah, that's good. That's good. That's not so good. And we had questions for them as well.
Yeah.
To say, look, how do you do this? How do you do the menus? Like, oh, no, you do it like that. How do you deep link? Oh, well, it's easy. You just do this.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's a bit of a learning curve sometimes as well. I mean, that's a great thing, I think, particularly probably at the beginning when customers start working with OutSystems, they definitely have the kind of support from OutSystems in those things, which is critical to make sure you get the best out of it.
That's right. So OutSystems have a bunch of services that you can use, like architectural reviews, and they'll set up the environments for you. And then, if you have an organisation like us that comes in, often what we'll do, we don't do this on every project, but often if we can, we'll actually include a member of our clients, often developers, on the development team. And, help them learn how we do things and, learn the platform. And then they can go away and they're set up to a much greater extent to be able to continue that.
And what's been the reaction of sort of the developers that you've worked with in your team when this is obviously something new for them, and they're probably hardcore developers from whatever they're, like you said, they've probably been C#, .NET or whatever they've been doing, and then suddenly they've got this. Did they meet it with skepticism, or did they embrace things?
That's a fair description of how it's met, and I think it's kind of universal. As I was saying before, we're all skeptics. But everyone's different in their terms of uptake of different things. So there's some that still not interested in that. I'm interested in these sort of technologies, and that's fine. And they're really good at them. Then there's others that are kind of like, oh yeah, I'll give that a shot. And what I've done personally is I've looked at it and I've kind of made a bet on it, because I was doing all the cloud kind of stuff and all the single page application kind of stuff, and I've gone, all right, I'm actually going to put that on hold, and I'm going to look at this thing, and I'm going to give it a good honest go. And giving something a good honest go means a couple of years at least,
right?
Because you don't become an expert in something overnight. No. So
so it does require some investment of time. Yeah,
it really does, and I still think it's worth betting on. We'll see what I say about that in 5-10 years time.
Yeah.
But I think
it's interesting. I mean, we also find actually when we talk to people, developers, some of them are very resistant. They don't want to learn anything new. The ones that are kind of earlier on, I suppose, in their careers, they're much more open to take learning something new from the beginning. And then I suppose some people are drawn into it as we get these big projects that start going as well. So
yeah, I actually think that I think I've noticed exactly the same thing, but I think it's more about, like, you've developed, it takes a long time to develop these skills. So you've developed these skills, and if you go over into low code land, then you're kind of thinking, well, I'm hardly using I'm not using my Angular or React or skills much anymore. I'm doing a bit of JavaScript and doing
so there's a
I'm
fear
not using
of losing.
Yeah, but it's also, if you're not sure about the platform, then you're thinking, so what happens if the platform goes away and then next year I'm looking for a job and I've just been doing this, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, they're real reasons. And you do have to, you know, people are picking and choosing going, I'm going to do .NET or I'm going to do Java or, you know, and you do have to make a decision, I think.
I think, yeah, that's certainly the thing. And people are always looking for the next big thing. And I mean, our view personally is low code is here. The day of low code has arrived. And as especially with the explosion of mobile apps and things, this is the day to start learning, to make sure you're on this wave. Yeah.
So the thing is, there's all of these. Yeah, you're right. There's all of these, you know, generator mobile app sort of systems, but you know, OutSystems will do the business system and the mobile app, and it'll do it in the same technology and use the same back end.
Yeah.
That's pretty special. That's one of the main things that was behind our yes, it's ready. But I would say to developers who are kind of thinking, oh, look, I'm not going to be using these skills, you know, unless you're building that small application that the business analyst can build anyway, right? You're actually using your software design skills. You're going, we've got to build a document generation system. How are we going to do that? You know, we have to build this. You know, the file upload isn't working fast enough, or isn't. It's not handling 10 files at once, and it's what are we going to do? Or you still have architectural design problems. How do we structure these massive enterprise applications? Because we're no longer just building this small thing because, you know, because of the complexity of what we did, we can only build something that big. Now we can build something that big. And now I need to be able to structure all those things and manage the dependencies of that. And I can say, all right, this team over here of citizen devs, you go and build that bit.
Yeah.
But, you know, I can now design the whole thing and be an architect that I always wanted to be, you know. So there's more to it than just I'm now just drawing code instead of, typing it.
I suppose ultimately, you know, it'll be driven by the customers. I mean, we found various cases where, you know, where a customer has chosen the low-code solution OutSystems because it gives them that competitive edge in their market. That then has driven everything else, you know. So I mean, so ultimately, you know, customers are going to drive the demand, I suppose. So
that's true. You know, I've still got some friends who are still working in C++, and you know, that market's really, really shrinking. So it means that you have to be better and better and better to actually be that remaining pool of people. You have to keep up with technology.
So I suppose the message there is keep an open mind and make sure you you know, don't dismiss things and be driven by you know whatever's happening in the market, I suppose. So So in terms of Kiandra and how do you think your involvement with low code and OutSystems has changed, you know, business and things for you going forward? Would you say it's opened up new markets?
Look, I think it has. It's certainly we're doing a lot of work in it that, you know, we may not have otherwise had. You know, some of it we would have, but some of it we definitely wouldn't. So and you know, I'm not sure about the exact numbers, but there's a certain amount of you know, customers who've gone to OutSystems and said, look, we want to use it. So we wouldn't have been doing that work if we hadn't have looked at that. But, you know, you need to review. You can't just say, oh, you know, we're just going to use that. You need to continually review platforms that are out there. You know, there's something new every day.
Sure.
So we do that. But this one's going strong, and it's going to go strong for quite some time.
Well, that's actually. I mean, I agree with you. I mean, I think there's been low code's been around for donkey's years. But it's really a question of various other things coming together. Various other events and technologies all coming together at this particular point in time, which is kind of driving the whole thing. So I think there's been a few stops and starts in the past, but I think now's the time, I think, where it's going to be driving forward.
Yeah, I blame DevOps. DevOps had a lot to do with it. I think that was the final touch that I think made it really work. But actually, no, you can't just say one thing. It's that, and it's generating the mobile app as well, and the theming, and
I mean, touching on that actually. So I mean, I know OutSystems do an event every year, Next Step, in various different locations, where they present new features and new things, and there's various big things such as the AI and RPA and things like that. I mean, where do you see things going in the future, and where do you think low code fits in that, in terms of some of the things that customers are looking at now and they want, and will give them that a little bit of more edge?
I know OutSystems are investing heavily in AI, and there's a few good plugins in OutSystems for it. I think where it fits, it kind of works. But I think my prediction of that is that's a bit of a slow burner. So I think we need to be aware of that and aware of what's available to use, so we can use it for our projects when that's appropriate.
Yeah.
But I think the thing that I'm really excited about is the workflow builder and the mobile experience builder, where it's gone from where you can kind of build a page and build some logic and do that visually and then put those components together, to, okay, now I'm just going to build the customer experience and get it to generate all of that for me. And then with the workflow builder, that kind of will build multiple workflows in a case management framework.
Right.
Like they've just kind of happened, quite recently. I mean, in the last, probably 18 months really, but it's going to take maybe another, on the OutSystems platform, it's going to take another maybe year, I think, for everyone to really grasp how to use those tools well. But I think you'll see a further incremental increase in the ability to deliver quickly. Because you'll just go bang, 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 deliver the customer experience.
Yeah. Okay,
that page is already there. That page is there. I have to build that one and that one. All right. And you can sit down with your customer and kind of build that out. And then go, all right, well, we'll go away and fill in the details. It's going to be more complicated than that, right? Everything is. But I think there's a real opportunity there to deliver value faster. And again, it's just focusing on the business stuff and leaving the complexity for the platform to handle.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, they did talk about a lot about all these new builders, I think, in the last Next Step thing, and it's good to hear actually that, your views on that, to see that's going well. So great. Well, that's been really good. Thanks, Stuart. I mean, was there anything else that you particularly wanted to add in terms of your experiences? Or
look, I think it's just important for all of us, like you said before, it's just important for all of us just to be open to new ideas and try them out. Like, give them a hard go, give them a hard time, but still just be open and give them a shot.
Fantastic.
It's been lovely talking to you, Shishil.
Thanks, Stuart, and I hope I kept you up too late. And,
not at all. I've got a lot of Netflix to watch now.
Yeah, great. It'd be great to catch up with you actually again at some point. Yeah, maybe in 6 months or whatever, and see where the business is going and what else you've done in terms of projects and things. So I look forward to speaking to you again.
I'd be delighted. It'd be lovely to speak to you again too.
Thanks, Stuart.
Thank you for listening to the latest episode of the Low Code Podcast, hosted by iTrack, Global OutSystems Recruitment Specialist. Be sure to subscribe and see you next time.